Dear students, today I will discuss about the second chapter of sociology, social inequality, social exclusion and social inclusion. Now, social inequality. Social inequality refers to patterns of unequal access to social resources are commonly called social inequality. People often face discrimination and exclusion because of their gender, religion, language, race, and caste and disability. So, this is called social inequality. This question can be asked for 2 marks. Next, social exclusion. Social exclusion refers to the ways in which the individual may become cut off from full involvement in the wider society. It focuses attention on a broader range of factors that prevent individuals or groups having opportunities open to all majority to the population. So this is social exclusion. This is also important question for 2 marks. Next, exclusion based on caste. Caste system, joint family and village community are the main pillars of Indian society. They influence one's occupation, marriage, food habits, philosophy and dress habits. The study of caste system is important because caste in India is a deep-rooted social institution. The word caste is derived from the Spanish root casta, which means breed or lineage or a complex of hereditary qualities. This question can be also asked for 1 mark. This question can be asked, how is the word caste derived? The word caste is derived from the Spanish root casta, which means breed or lineage. Clear, students? Next, features of caste system. This is also important for 10 marks question. Features of caste system. G.S. Gurre explains the features of caste system in his book Caste and Race in India. The first features of caste system, caste as a segmental division of society. The society is divided into various castes. The membership of caste determined by birth. Caste has hereditary status which is determined by birth. Caste has its council of its own known as caste panchayat. Caste panchayat imposed certain restrictions on marriage, food habits and occupational factors. Because of these restrictions, every caste had its own way of life. Violation of caste norms attracted punishment from the caste panchayat. So this is caste as a segmental division of society. Clear? Second one, hierarchy. The whole society is divided into various castes with the concept of high or low, superior or inferior, regarded as gradation or ranking order. The Brahmins were occupied at the top of the hierarchy. They were regarded as pure caste. The degraded caste or the untouchables were occupied other end of the hierarchy. They were impure caste. So this is hierarchy. Third one, restrictions on food. Every caste has some restrictions with respect to the type of food they take. There are 2 types of food, pakka food and kacha food. Earlier, people belonging to upper caste were taking pakka food. People belonging to lower caste were taking kacha food. Pakka food is prepared by using milk or ghee. Kacha food is prepared by using water. This question can be also asked for 1 mark. What is pakka food or what is kacha food? People belonging to upper caste were not allowed to take food prepared by the people belonging to lower caste. So this is restrictions on the food. Next, civil and religious disabilities. People belonging to the lower caste had no economic, social, educational and religious status. Earlier, untouchable had no right to enter temples, educational institutions, hotels. Even also, chanting Vedic mantra was forbidden. They had no right to wear the gold ornaments and new clothes. There were restrictions in place of using the places of public roads or the water facilities. So this is civil and religious disabilities. Clear? Next, restrictions on occupation. According to G.S. Gurre, every caste was associated with traditional occupation. Earlier, prestigious jobs were reserved for Brahmins, such as priesthood and teaching. People belonging to the lower caste had to take shoemaking, sweeping, scavenging, washing, barbering, pottery, and etc. So this is restrictions on occupation. Clear? Next, restrictions on marriage. Intercaste marriage was prohibited. Hence, they practiced endogamous marriage. Caste is an endogamous group. Endogamous marriage means marriage within the caste. So this is restrictions on marriage. So these are the main important features of the caste system. Next, changes in caste system. Changes in caste system studied under caste in pre-independent period and caste in post-independent period. Okay. Now, caste in pre-independent period. British government played an important role bringing some changes in the caste system. Some of the steps taken by British rule are, first one, introduction of universalistic legal system. The establishment of British court removed the authority of the caste panchayat. The introduction of new principles of justice according to which all are equal before the law, and the caste panchayat lost their former importance. There are some legislations which brought about changes in the caste system. The first one, Caste Disability Removal Act of 1850. This act removed some of the disabilities associated with the caste, including the practice of untouchability. Second one, Hindu Widow Remarriage Act of 1856. This act gave legal permission for the Hindu widows to remarry. Third one, Special Marriage Act of 1872. This legalized intercaste and interreligious marriages. And the other administrative measures, in 1858, British government announced all schools governed by the government shall be open to all the caste of the people without any discrimination. So this is first point, introduction of universalistic legal system. Clear? Second point, impact of British education, English education. English education was based on secular, scientific and universal principles. It was open to all. There was no discrimination between the caste or the community. It propagated the principles such as liberty, equality and fraternity. Western education provides new economic opportunities and members of lower class people became professionals in various fields and took up the new commercial opportunities offered by the Western education. So this is second point. Third one, impact of social reform movement. Here, social reform movement played a very important role, changes in the caste system during the British period. They were set out to eradicate and to establish casteless and classless society. Some of the social reform movements are Brahma Samaj, founded by Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Arya Samaj, founded by Swami Dayananda Saraswati, and Swami Vivekananda started Ramakrishna Mission. These organizations aimed at destruction of the caste and social reconstruction of the Indian society. So this is third point. Fourth one, impact of freedom struggle. The growth of nationalist movement played an important role in weakening the caste consciousness. In India, the presence of foreign rule was the main reasons all Indians united on the national basis. So this is impact of freedom struggle. Next one, impact of industrialization and urbanization. The growth of industries destroyed the traditional occupation or the traditional handicrafts and provided new ways to earn a livelihood. People started using transport facilities such as overcrowded buses and trains. Thereby, it brought millions of Indians come together, and this was led to there was no scope for ceremonial purity. Because of urbanization, workers working under all the different caste of people working under the same common roof and eating at common canteen, this also led to remove the restrictions on the food. So this is last point, impact of industrialization and urbanization. I repeat, impact of industrialization and urbanization. See, the growth of industries, it destroyed the traditional handicrafts and they can earn, it provides a new ways to earn a livelihood. Okay, people started using transport facilities like overcrowded buses or the trains that brought millions of Indians of all castes come together. Thereby, there was no ceremonial purity. And because of this urbanization, working class people, workers of different castes working under a same common roof and they are eating the same canteen, common canteen. This led to the remove the restrictions on food. So this is impact of industrialization and urbanization. Clear? Next one, caste in post-independent period. Caste in post-independent India, it has two parts. First one, functional changes in the caste and the changes in the role of the caste. Okay? So the functional changes in the caste are, the first one, occupational restrictions is relaxed. Second one, decline and disappearance of caste panchayat. And third one, rules relating to the marriage is relaxed. So this is functional changes in the caste system. Okay. Second part, the changes in the role of the caste. Under that first one, election based on caste system. Caste played a very important role in electoral politics in the modern India. Even though politicians condemn caste in public, but they use this as a tool during the election time to get more votes. So this is election based on caste. Second one, increase caste consciousness and organization. Caste consciousness and caste organization increased in modern society. Every caste has its own their own caste institution, hostels, hospitals, banks, and journals. Caste consciousness and integrations are brought about by the journals published by the caste organization. So this is second point. Clear? Third point, impact of modern means of transport and communication. People of same caste they are from faraway places can meet and take part in programs conducted by caste organization because of the constructions of buildings and the introduction of railways, postal services and newspaper. Next one, impact of modern education. Even after the liberalized education, caste has not disappeared in the post-independent period, because educated people started caste journals, held conferences and organized caste meetings. This led to the increase the caste solidarity and it decreased the interdependence between the different castes. Next, dominant caste. M.N. Srinivas introduces the concept of dominant caste. This is also important for 1 marks question. Dominant caste used to refer the caste which yields high economic and political power and occupies high status in the hierarchy, higher position in the hierarchy. This is dominant caste. Clear? Next, nature of dominant caste. First one, determinants of dominance. The dominant caste should own sizable amount of land and it enjoys greater economic and political power. In addition to high educated people in the caste and high occupations people in the caste also add to pursue dominant caste. Clear? Second one, distribution of dominance. Different elements of dominant caste differently among different castes in the village. For example, caste which is numerically high but lacking in political power, whereas high economic status and lacking strength in number. This also said to be a caste enjoys one form of dominance. So this is second point. Clear? Third one, dominance is not purely a local phenomena. It is true, dominance is not purely a local phenomena. Fourth one, new factors affecting dominant caste. According to M.N. Srinivas, Western education, job in administration and the sources of income in urban sources of income are significant in contributing a prestige and power in particular caste. So this is new factors affecting the dominant caste. Lastly, dominant caste at state level. Lingayas and Vokkaligas at Karnataka, important for 2 marks question. The two dominant castes, name the two dominant castes in Karnataka, Lingayas and Vokkaligas. Reddis and Kammas at Andhra Pradesh. Maratha Brahmins and Mahars at Maharashtra. And Rajput and Thakur at North Indian state. Etc. are distributed in the state level. So these are the main features of the dominant caste.